There we go. Now we're live. I'm having to do stuff by hand. Because there's some tooling that's offline. And yeah. So, there's that. We got game audio sounds coming in now. Get out of bed. We're going without camera tonight because my back is in just a bad back week for me. And I know that if I've got the camera on, I'm going to make even more ridiculous faces than I normally would, as I eventually just start grimacing in pain and forgetting what I'm doing. So, yeah, we're just not running a camera tonight. Or music. We'll see how long we go tonight. I don't know if it'll be a full normal stream or not. Yeah, so let's just kill extra signals for the moment. So things that are done. 3 of the 4 clams that I wanted to deploy are deployed. I did finish automating the barge for travel to the AAG HQ and back, the barge over there, which I also painted. It's yellow now. I might change my mind on that later, but it's yellow for now. I tried automating that like 8 or 9 times using various scripts and or AI blocks, and eventually just settled on using the basic AI movement controller, because doing the fancy one and recording stuff just didn't want to work right. The water mod and AI blocks, because the water level from tides is constantly changing up and down, makes it want to speed up and slow down for each individual point as it's going up and down and up and down and up and down. And it took like 45 minutes to travel the 11 kilometers. And that was dumb. And the problem with like Pam and Sam and the other ones, PAS, DAS, all those, they require you start from a connector and end on a connector. And I did at one point in time consider building like a little floating buoy that was just like an empty hydrogen tank and a connector and an anchor block, and just using that to just sit somewhere, and it would, function off that, use that for your start and end points. And then I decided that was way more effort than it was work to get it up and running with like Pam or something like that. So it's just the basic AI controller block, and I set up some GPS stuff here for let's see, there's like 5 spots, something like that. Yeah, here we go. We turn these back on. Not all. Let's just do normal display. So there's an offshore waypoint there, and then there's a waypoint at the river mouth. There's one at the midpoint here where it gets kind of narrow, and there's that little sandbar, and then one right outside the bay, and then one inside the bay where I normally park. And so there's just a basic AI block that runs in one direction and one that runs in the other direction. And in order to trigger it, I just turn the route on, and it takes care of the rest. And it works. I've automated going there and then coming back and going there and coming back a couple times to test. I loaded up the tax fraud here onto it and just automated it going there and sitting in the bay, and then flew over on my jetpack and went and drove and picked up a load of gold and came back and then threw it back on the barge and sent it back home while I did other stuff, and it worked great. So I'm happy with it. Sometimes the simplest is the way to go. I was like, do I want to have like a nice smooth travel? Because then I could set up like multiple lanes, right? Like I could have it stick in one side and actually like follow channel lanes and then like set up some full automation. And no, we're not doing that. That's more than I need. We're just going with simple. Yeah, and it's 100% because of the tides. Like, if I did some testing, like on a creative test world, if you turn off tides entirely, so there's no waves at all, and there's no tides, you can get it to run pretty smoothly then. But with them, it's just easiest to stay turn off collision mode, because it's based on the overall like hitbox of the. Let's see, can I get a display? The overall hitbox? No, I can't. The overall hitbox of the grid. I'm hitting the wrong buttons. And then, like, we're all of 12 meters deep here. There's parts that are only 9 meters in this channel. So if you got a draft deeper than 9 meters at low tide, you got a big problem. And so because the anti-collision stuff on the AI, it doesn't like that. It will slow you down, or try to stop you to try to go in a direction it can't. So turn off collision mode, turn off precision mode, and basic, like using waypoints, basic AI will work pretty well for that. And just make sure you set your AI point based on your remote control. No, it wasn't a splat, but my clone count has gone up again. This time it wasn't a cat pack related failure. It was me having a jetpack related failure because I ran out of hydrogen gas and plummeted to my death down the central hole in Hat Mountain that I built. This was while I was taking the big drill assembly back apart. Ran out of gas, didn't realize it, plummeted to my death. So, yeah. But that was early on. That was before I did all the automation tests. So as you can see, I've got my buffs back now, because that took forever and a day. Other things that have been done, I did expand the docks for the barge. Kind of got to see a little bit of that here as far as that went. So I did build the wharf out more, added another dock point, and made it a little bit nicer and prettier. And I didn't do all the concrete underneath these yet, but I've got the placement for the conveyors that we're going to stick guns to. I think my plan is to put an artillery turret on top and then just autocannons around the sides, and that'll cover most things. Again, remember, for this playthrough I do have a restriction where the only time Gatlings can be used is if they're fixed weapons. So I can't do like custom turrets with Gatlings, I can't do Gatling turrets for defense or anti-rocket anything. So I'm hoping that with enough high explosive ammo, artillery and autocannons will take care of it for us. Or I guess assaults, because they're large grid. Yeah. That's the way that goes. The crab still exists. I haven't blown it up. It was actually really helpful getting stuff welded in and all that stuff. I did go through. Here we go. Let's turn on our conveyor network. Oh, I'm not close enough. That's fine. I have a secondary conveyor loop that goes from up there all the way down here and ties in. So the coal feed is still there and it's available, but everything else is conveyored up now. So that's kind of neat. It's using an incredibly long... Here's part of it. I set because I know what the degree is on this slope because I pre-measured it, so I just set a hinge up at the top and then just laid this down, static the whole thing. Had to go up and around the existing static pipeline. Used a piston down at the end, because you can do that, to go through and actually loop it in, because it's never an exact even, block count at the end. This is so slow. And then tied it back into the grid down here, and then just locked everything and powered it off, so it's not drawing constant power, it's not going to subgrid, do, physics shenanigans. But we've got that done, so we can actually unload and load properly without having to worry about coal, just completely clogging up the inventory system. And it works. And it also means we can get stuff back down again, like fuel, because that's actually an incredibly important thing as far as that went. What else is relevant and fun? So 3 of the 4 clams are out. And if we fly up here, if we do fully visible, you can see them spaced. They're about half a kilometer from the oil rig, and this one does need to get moved. We're going to turn off some of these signals because there's too many of them now, and it's bothering me. It's bothering me. So yeah, and then this is going to go out and get anchored. I don't know if I'm going to build a 4th one, or more than 4, because here's the issue. Remember that welder wall we built? It's gone. In fact, the welder wall mod is going to be removed from the save because I watched it delete a grand total of 12,000 components. Just delete them. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's not fun. So I ground them all down, recovered the parts, and so we've got a build and repair instead. It's basically limited to about the same space that the welder wall covered before. It can't do grind downs or anything like that. So it's about the same thing, except it's like 50 times slower. This took so long to print with a build and repair, but it's not like they're short on supplies. This is the currently maintained branch of build and repair, so it uses a lot of parts, and they're heavy. Like, this is 35.5 tons. You're not using these on something. It's not being done. But we got good old Bob in, and that works. So Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of annoyed about that, but it is what it is. I'm not sitting there fighting with it. I'm not the only person who's had this issue, but it's been reported. So anyway, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna set up our printer to print out the new crab, the battle crab, and I'm gonna go through and do some defense tower build outs. Then we'll continue working on the hat mount interior. Otherwise, I think we're in a pretty good spot. So let's go ahead and the stuff that has been completed, let's go ahead and take it off the list. We'll do some little demonstrations on some of the stuff that's going on inside, because that's useful. We've got so much stuff actually, like, done here now. It's not all the way through. It's not finished all the way through, but it's getting there. There are building repairs sunk into the floor every 200 meters, because that's the maximum range, and it's basically just the size of the tunnel. So it builds things out and will make minor repairs if I, like, crash into one of these sidewalls, as far as that goes. So I mean, that kind of works pretty decently, and we'll just build those out as we go. As you can see, we still have like half a kilometer to go, but it's getting there. Let's go ahead and top this back off while I'm here. As far as things, I've placed some markers here for some planned use of these spaces. So this is going to become the parking lot. I went and drilled this out. Again, it's just you place a piston down, a series of pistons, you place your drills, let it run, come back. I need to finish clearing this out. I need to put another set of pistons here and just push out with a very wide drill set, so I can just push it all the way back out. But I got tired of building and unbuilding drills, so we're putting a pause on that. But this is eventually the plan of where we're going to store all of our non-boat vehicles, and then this will be set up to be our cargo drop-off area. So we'll have like collectors in the floors and connectors and stuff like that. So if we have to, we can, you know, drive down here, pull into the parking lot, back up in, unload, go put things away. Just some updated stuff on the plans for things. That's all. And then we got this up here. We do medical and like quarters stuff here. And I've already started some of the automation controls. To that end, we're running the goat script. This is kind of the spiritual successor to Izzy's inventory manager, except it works. No splats yet, that is true. Not on camera, at least. So Goat's pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome. It works with I/O. It doesn't blow up all the time. And it's really easy to set up. And it's got cool little animations. It's like the old like DVD screensaver, except it just, you know, flips between which icon is each time. I haven't seen it hit dead center in a corner yet. I don't know if it can. I don't know if this is fully programmatic or not. I haven't bothered to look into it, but I think it's cool. And it works pretty smoothly, and we got some extra servers here. I haven't put them into play yet. We'll probably do something with them, but right now this one's running that. And I just haven't, you know, finished building the server room yet, because we got a space marking where a door is going to be, and none of the walls are in, but hey. And then, of course, this is the hole that I fell down and died in. I actually landed on this block. Meanwhile, I drilled out some gigantic holes. This is going to be where all the industrial stuff ends up. Is back in here. Which we have a gasoline tank and some gasoline refinery stuff set up. This should be, I think this is tall enough. See, do I still have? No, I don't. I think the crusher's the tallest one, and as you can see, we have enough space to clear a crusher and not touch the roof yet. So we can still work with this. Nothing sunk or exploded yet. Well, maybe. So this is going to eventually be built out. It is conveyored all the way down. This did take a while to do, but thanks to the crab and the tax fraud, it was pretty easy to move components over as necessary. Because there's just a lot of like, work on this thing till I'm out of parts for it, go work on the next thing, and go from there. I'm not using scripting to automate the refinery processes for this. I just got all these machines set to manual mode only. So this is the the bitumen extractor, and then we've got the oil cracker, and we've got a gasoline refinery and a rocket fuel refinery. But we've only got tank for the gasoline for right now. But we are set up for when we eventually go to rockets, if we go that far. But basically, the sorters are set here to whitelist only the relevant pieces that come through. So the oil sand's allowed in here, and it goes, up into the extractor. And it would normally continue trying to push forward into the next machines or whatever storage is there, but the sorter blocks only allowing fuel oil through, or the crude oil through, which then feeds into here, and then there's another sorter that blocks anything but fuel oil and the byproducts from getting through. The fuel tank is a potential bomb, but let's see, if you look here, we're deep underground. Like, that tank it's not blowing up. This is kind of wild, actually, looking at it this way. And then, of course, this sorter allows just the other components that show up. It blocks is a blacklist for fuel oil, because the only thing that could get through this far is fuel oil, and then sulfur and carbon and whatever other garbage comes out of the refining process that I don't recall right now. Polymer, there we go. So there's an option there for that. So that's been going. I used the barge to bring a load of oil sand back. Turns out, technically, I can load it with more fuel than it can float. So I do need to make some adjustments to the barge's flotation, or reduce its total overall cargo capacity, one of the two. I kind of didn't do any math on that and just guessed and got it pretty close, actually. We have hydrogen and oxygen storage here to refill fuel tanks and stuff with, and refill my bottles with. Oh, crap. I hadn't done that since I set up the script, and it just ripped them right out. That's fine. We'll get around with that later. And we built out some more inventory. Just the front two are being used for right now. Eventually, this will cover everything, and it's got some room for expansion. I think I want to set up some overflow for coal and oil. We'll see. The tank is a good way to make a huge hole in the mountain. That's actually not incorrect. It's going to be a different shape than I wanted, but that is 100% accurate. Also, wait, okay, no, that's part of the concrete texture. I'll be like, I thought I got all the little rock bits. I went through here and did right-click removal because it minimizes damage to the structure on so many little rock bits that just barely stuck through. Yeah, stuff. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Let's go drag this clam out. Actually, let's turn off these extra GPSs first, so we're not cluttering the screen up. Let's go over here. The boat is plated in, so of course it's floating. Of course it is. Let's see. I'm gonna hold right strafe when I unlock this. Hey, we didn't catch and blow up. Alright, these others were kind of a pain to move because of offsetting. I don't know how I want to handle that yet. If I want to try and... I've got the engines back here, right? I could put a mag plate on it like an extension. We might do that. Let's get the parts and do that. Because holding it on the side and having to crab walk the boat 4 kilometers sucks. So let's grab a bunch of steel plates. That's way more than we need, but that's fine. And then we'll grab a mag plate. And we'll just build out a quick little extension here. And we'll do something like this. Yeah, that works. No, it didn't turn into a plane. We still have the plane though. How did I mess up grabbing parts? Sometimes the build planner just doesn't like me. That's what happens. Sometimes it likes me, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, so there's that. Yeah. Let's grind this free. This has been pre-filled with ammunition, and it's sat here long enough that the collector has filled up the ballast tanks for storage with ice. So this is how these should all be sitting. They should be sitting barely under the surface of the water except for the turtle. Because one, that provides extra defenses against attacks. So you know the anchors are deployed, so we're good there. And it's just a good way to minimize potential impacts, even if like a ship tries to crash into it. Hopefully it should kind of have minimal issues that way. I'm just gonna, I don't have a good way to see this. Like, lined up-ish, kind of. Let's do this. That's kind of there. And then we'll just kind of... You know what we'll do? We'll just turn off the dampeners and wait till we bounce far enough back. Yeah, so most of Build Planner's issues can be avoided if you're not crossing grids. And I think we're hooked. Are we hooked? We are hooked. Sweet. Bob is trying to weld that stuff up for us. I appreciate that, Bob, but that ain't necessary. So the issue is Build Planner does not natively cross subgrids looking for parts. It will always try and pull from the immediate container, and then it will check other containers on that same grid. If there are no resources to be found for what it's looking for, you can then call it a second time or an additional time, and it will then pull from other connected grids. So that's why, like, sometimes you see me when I'm doing Builder. I'm just going to turn down the game sounds a little bit because, good God, are those engines loud still? You end up in the scenario where, you know, I will end up middle mouse clicking 2 or 3 times just to make sure that I grab, you know, immediate whole or local grid, full attached grids, because if it pulls like apart, no Windows update, I don't want to do a restart. Come on. Oh, something crashed, or somebody fought something. Because if like you're looking for 100 steel plates, and like the thing you first click on, you know, is like a connector and it's got 10 steel plates in it, it will only pull those 10 steel plates. It won't then pull from, you know, the other 90 you've got in a cargo container that's connected to it. If you then go through and click it a second time, because there's nothing in that block you're clicking into, it'll pull from everything else in that local grid. So if that grid has like another 60, it'll then pull those 60. So you're like, oh, okay, I've got all my parts, you know, but you've only got 70 of the 100 steel plates that were in your build planner. If you then click it a third time, it will then search adjacent connected subgrids for additional parts it doesn't have yet. So reflexively, I just spam middle mouse when I pull out, because it's just the easiest way to do that. I should have added another vertical piece to this. That's fine. I do know for a fact the barge can handle these pretty easily, though, because the barge weighs like way more. It just has so much mass that it just kind of manhandles these clams. And I know that because I brought the clam, the one on the far right, what is it, the east one? The southern clam. Did get pulled out that way. So the goal is have these within about 500 meters of the oil rig, so they should get prioritized first. They'll open up on stuff. Theoretically, the clams, if, you know, like one gets attacked, the other ones have the range to provide a little bit of fire support. And then I've got broadcast controllers set up on these, so like if they get targeted, they'll send a message. If, you know, they take damage to sufficient damage to a critical like component that it takes something offline, I'll also get a notification. So like if it eats a rocket or enough Gatling shots from like an enemy drone, that it goes through. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn on the booster thrusters too. They're going faster than 9 meters a second. You know, like if the turret itself is damaged, like the rotor or the hinge, or if like the rotary cannons are damaged or anything else like that, anything short of the event controller that monitors everything at the bottom, the broadcast controller and the antenna, which are all low down and pretty much every other component's in front of them, I'll get the notification, so I know I need to come out and either make repairs or something like that. Actually, you know, it would be kind of cool, while we're doing this, what are the requirements for the small build and repair? Could we do like a repair dinghy? That's actually not too terribly bad. It's 12 tons. I wonder if we could refit the duck boat for clam repairs. That'd be kind of cool. I don't remember if I put... I don't think I put a projector on these. So my solution to the don't shoot the rig is they can absolutely shoot the rig. I'm going to probably end up putting, like, I mean, the angles they'd have to fire at, it's unlikely they would, but I'm going to put the no friendly fire mod in, because vanilla turrets and vanilla turret tracking systems don't understand the concept of don't shoot through a grid, because of the way that Space Engineers vanilla guns does like target detection and protection. And there are scripts that fix that. All right, like Weapon Core does, you know, fixes it by default, because Weapon Core completely changes everything about the guns. In this case, I could use a script to take care of it, but I feel like these are kind of supposed to be lightish weight and low maintenance, and I don't want a script just ticking over endlessly for no reason, just to keep it on the rare chances that it could. Because I mean, like, again, the rig is, what, I think 55 meters above the surface of the water at the tip. Ooh, are we... Interesting. Why don't we have flames here? Are we out of power? Broke something. Hang on. I forgot how wide the clam was behind me. Okay, that's fine. That's nothing. That's a couple blocks. It's light armor anyway. It's light armor below the water line. Are these damaged so they're no longer... No, they're still floating. It's fine. I don't have to worry about that then. The question is, why don't we have flames? Are we drawing that little power, or are we out? Interesting. No, we got power. Okay. We're just not drawing that much. Oh, the laser's probably off. Yep, it's off. So I did set up a, as you can see, I still haven't welded up the floors here. With the barge, I could probably do that. Actually, again, repair boat with a single BIR on it. Just bring parts out and dock it up and let it run. I set an event controller so that when cargo was full on the oil sand, it would turn that off and just not constantly burn coal for no reason. Where did my boat go? There it is. Yeah, first explosion of the night. That is actually true, and it was thankfully just light armor blocks, so it doesn't actually matter. All right, we're gonna go out this way. And I've tested these. They should be functional now. Oh, the other thing that was happening with the welding wall was I don't know why it was the case, but the way it was doing the welding was breaking the blueprints, so that the configured stuff that relies on block IDs, you know, like the custom turrets, it was not matching the IDs that the blueprint said it should have. So I had to go through the very first clam I built. I realized when I got out here and I was loading it up with ammo, I had to go through and completely rebuild everything. I had to rebuild the custom turret controller and reset it all up. I had to go through and reset up all, this is so slow, set up all the event controllers to set up the firing timing. I had to go set up all the alert triggers, all the monitoring stuff. If it goes boom, it counts. That's fair. That's fair. So I had to basically rebuild it all from scratch, which defeated the entire purpose of using a blueprint. And I double checked on the second one it was working on, and it did the exact same thing. So what I did was I just ground it down, because it was broken in a way that not even using the multi-grid projector plugins, fix action bars button, it couldn't even fix it. All right, so we're in a pretty good spot here. Let's turn our dampeners on. We are more or less cardinal to that. Let's just grind this free, and then we're going to come over here and punch the button to get our anchors down. Oh crap! I'm littering. Anyway, yeah, so we anchor 4 points into the ground, and it'll hold it more or less there. It'll drift a little bit as need be for tides, but it shouldn't take anything offline, and because it's 4, it should be able to tip enough to matter. I've done some tests with some cranked up like water tidal settings, and it worked through pretty much all of them, so I'm not too concerned about it. But so that's that one. Before we go everywhere, before we disappear, I'm going to make sure that I properly set up the broadcast range on this one. You know what? Actually, what we can do here? Hang on a second. We can do this because I've got extra pieces on me now. And then we'll just do this. That's the wrong one. That's the right one. We'll just weld these back up. Bam. We'll just repaint this. And there we go. Yeah. That's all set. All right, so what was I doing? Antenna distance. Antenna broadcast distance. I want to make sure we are 700 meters. Sweet. So what these are all, the intent is that these can all link back to the antenna and broadcast beacon on the oil rig, and then that can, with its much higher power production, push back to Hat Mountain or wherever I happen to be. That's the goal. Don't punch the button too hard. The way things are going so far tonight, that's a reason for concern, actually. So I just need to make sure I avoid all these things when I'm, zipping around out here now. We'll see how well these work. I don't know how well these work, but I've never done, floating satellite defenses before. And that's the way that goes. Now, the nice thing is that with the 208 update coming next week, on the 24th, they're adding the ability for us to set values on a lot more stuff. So, you can change the display text on the HUD of, beacons and antennas from, timers or action bars with that update. So you can have it where, you monitor for stuff, and when it triggers stuff, you just, instead of having multiple beacons or having to use a broadcast controller, you can use the same beacon and an event controller and or a timer, and have it change the HUD, what it displays on the HUD, to match the message you want it to have. So right now, you either have to have enough power to run antennas, and then in this particular case, make them visible from far enough away that it becomes an issue for hostile grids that might show up, in order to get broadcast controller events sent out. Or you've got to install multiple beacons and then toggle on different beacons. And beacons aren't light. Like, they could be far worse, but they're not light. And with this change, you won't have to. You can just do it on one, and then have it change the name of display. So you can have it so like it flashes when there's a problem, you know, to catch your attention, and then the name is whatever the problem is. Yeah, I did see Shaq's video on that new Shields mod. I'm kind of interested in that one. I'm probably gonna check that one out just because there's a couple good like shield mods out there. It's just sometimes they're kind of goofy, where like the balance is set in a way that like it adds a feature I just don't want to deal with, and that's fair, right? Like, mod authors are allowed to dictate how their mods work. But I kind of like the way that one looked, and it didn't look overpowered, right? Because that's always the big concern. Is like, yeah, you can sit here and go through and, you know, make adjustments, and crooked, but that's fine. You know, make adjustments to the balance and all that, but I don't like having to do that. So if it's got a fairly reasonable balance point out the gate, I'm a big fan of that. So I'm just gonna re-steal that color back again. So yeah, this works. It works incredibly well actually as a barge. I went through and set up the crane so it works now. I went through and did some changes, so we've got some ladders to climb up onto things when we're docked, or if we're low on hydrogen and fall off the boat or fall in the water, we can get up on this without needing to have hydrogen jetpacks anymore. And I did take out, I ran a test, and I had to take out these side panels in order to get the oil dump boom I've got out there to properly sit when this thing's empty, because it sits too high in the water. So I may need to see about doing something about that. But there is that. I haven't set up like the broadcast controller for like emergency events yet, but everything else is more or less functional in here. We got the AI recorder. This task recorder doesn't get used for anything now. The basic ones do. One goes out to the AHEHQ and one comes back. And on the back of this thing, we've got a whole bunch of stuff in here now. We've got event controllers, and we've got an acid battery for power smoothing. We've got, you know, programmable locks, one for the crane controller, which is just running what's it called? The park script. I tried to use MarmOS for it, and this is the remote control itself, and then the actual defensive AI block. And somewhere in here is the actual flight control somewhere. I think it's up in there. I did use MarmOS to set it up originally, and then realized because of how it gets used, that wasn't going to work, because MarmOS does like automated like kinesthetics calculations, so it's intended to like you look somewhere or you want to go somewhere, and it changes dynamically your controls, right? So like if you're pushing forwards and then you look that way, it's going to start pushing, you know, instead of just going out, it's going to start going that way as well. And for the crane, that wasn't what I wanted. So I just went back and reset park on it, because then it's consistent and it makes things work nice. And there's a camera up here now, so I can actually see what I'm doing. I did use it to offload oil. Just ran it out and just dumped it into the collectors. So that was kind of cool. So it's all working-ish. Let's see, did I weld these up? I did weld these up. I need to repaint this so it's not garish white. Turret stuff. Okay, I did weld the bottom ones. Let's grab a whole bunch of pieces here. And there's room for something else to be pulled up and left alongside here. I don't know if I'm going to make an additional boat this run. I do want to still do a Zeppelin. We've had flotation cells since like session 3, and I just haven't put them to use in anything yet. And I want to do some sort of thing. It's really hard to use the flotation, the balloons mod with AI blocks, because of the way they work for the flotation and buoyancy. We got to bring a bunch of parts with us here. Let's let's grab the truck. Mouse platen. Turn this off. We want that one. That's what we want. But anyway, I think with something like drive assist, I could set up something to automate going out to the gold mine and coming back. So that is something that may get looked into in the future. And I could also theoretically use the pilot assist script mod, PAS, for a Zeppelin, because it's designed for vehicles that have a single direction of thrust and rotate to meet and like do autopilot and plane stuff that way. So the hope is that I could, you know, like you don't have to use it for only boats or ships, like planes like that, but you can. And I'm pretty sure it could be used theoretically to do Zeppelin flights. And I think that might be the easiest way to do it, rather than fighting with like the basic AI blocks. At least that's my hope. And you know what we don't have set up in Hat Mountain yet? We don't have munitions manufacturing set up yet, so I should probably work on that. Actually, hang on. Before we do anything else, let's grab some steel plates. Getting distracted here. We're going to do some steel plates, and we're going to set up... Let's see, how do I want to do this? Do I want to do this on land? I kind of want to do it... If I do it on water, it's easy, because I can grab it and move it. Yeah, I think this is going to be the way to do that. So let's turn off build and repair. Let's come down here and do the projector thing. Blueprints, crab, battlecrab. Battlecrab? Yeah, battlecrab. And let's do an aligned projection. Let's see, I need to spin this way, right? Like that. That's going to be the... rotate it this way and just back it up. We're above ground. And that's pretty good aligned, I think. I don't think this is aligned with anything we don't need it to be. And then we'll just come here and do this. We're touching. This should work. See, we got guns. We got autocannon turrets. And this is a rocket turret, even though the projector doesn't display it that way. We got some welders. We got some fixed Gatlings, so I can aim up and just waste ammo hosing the air at things that don't matter. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. The legs are a little bit different. It's a little bit more aggressive in its stance. I took some of the handling issues the original Crab had, and we're more round. We're a little bit more chunky, but we got better armor. So you know, we'll see how this goes. We'll just turn this on, and we'll come back eventually to having a build crab. And related to that, let's go to our munitions production. What are we out of? We shouldn't be out of anything. We have magnesium. We have iron. We have copper. We're out of copper. Oh, no, we have no copper. Hang on. Ooh, what? Did we actually manage to run out of copper? Holy shit, we did. Okay. Let's see, we don't have any copper as a mine. Is there copper nearby? Let's edit our navigation screen to show resources. There is copper, but that's way out there and not nearby. So I think we need to make a trip, because that's going to be an issue. If we don't have... Do we take the plane? Do we have any cargo room on this? What do you have on this? We don't really have any cargo room. No, we're going to be responsible. We're going to take the boat. We're going to take duck boat. This is fast enough. And I need to bring back more than like 1 inventory's worth of copper. We have money. Somewhere. Helps be on the right page. Have some money, because I've sold some additional iron, additional gold and stuff. So we're going to take a run. We're going to go grab some copper. And we'll come back. Because if we don't have copper to make guns, we're not going to have copper to make needed parts for the crab. And that's going to be a problem. So we definitely need that. Probably should check to see if we need anything else first, but it didn't. So we'll just kind of have to wing it as we go. Also, not gonna lie, all the like navigation tests I did with the barge, because the AI blocks are not remotely happy. We'll use the word happy. The AI control blocks don't get happy if you use thruster overrides to try to provide force for things, and it'll actively try and fight it, even though it shouldn't be able to. So between that and then just regular inefficiencies from maintaining speeds, it burned so much gasoline in the barge. The barge actually had to be refueled by jerry can twice. So I'm like, it's got 1 gas tank, but like I'm not gonna sit here and make like 40 or 50 trips hand carrying a jerry can. So like I gave it like 9% fillness, and then it ran out of that. And then I gave it like another 10%. And I'm like, this is dumb. I could get a tank for that. Like, this is dumb. I'm just going to set up like proper refining, and so that's why I then embarked on the side quest to properly route everything up and set up the full refinery stack. And, yeah. So like there's still the gasoline refiner there at the temporary base, but it's pretty much only used for filling the jerry can for this boat and the plane. And eventually we'll have hookups for all that stuff to automate, like refills, like refueling arms inside the parking lot. So it won't be that big a deal. But, so let's turn back on some of these bay entrance in the bay, so y'all can see that's the entrance. So the barge goes over here, and it'll turn and spin back in. And we still have the dune rat. There it is. It's right there-ish. It's still floating. Or sunken. It's a reef. Anyway, it comes here, and then it turns in, and it heads this way. And just parks in the middle of the bay. So if we have to, we could theoretically strap like guns and or clams to the sides of the barge and just send it here to sit in like defensive loitering position. It would get sunk because it has no armor, but if we had to, we could. It's an option. Not an option I like, but it is an option. And I could just like set back up an ore tap for like rock for stone and then refine it out that way. But the issue is, it is, because of changes made in Industrial Overhaul, very, very inefficient to do that now. So there's not really much reason to. We could just go buy some. It's not like I haven't sold them a ton of copper to like bankroll things until we had the gold mine anyway. So I mean, it could be worse. The only thing that's an issue here is I don't have a way to hook up to this base. Like I don't have a connector port that matches anything here. And actually, neither does the barge. So we'd have to hand ferry everything across anyway. The barge wasn't really designed for this in mind anyway. It was designed for like all the other stuff that I do. So I mean, it's not that big a deal. jetpack by like, still slide that, by like 3 or 4 inventories for the copper. Come on. Fine. We'll just do this. And we'll go back. And then do it. There we go. That's the gun pods. I have no idea if those interior turrets are going to be worth a damn for rocket interception in this current mod pack either. There's always the possibility they won't be. Can we buy like, not 40,000. Can we buy 4,000? Not enough space, because I got steel plate in my inventory like a doofus. I can do 3,000. That's fine. We'll put this in the boat. Put the steel plate in the boat. I really wish there was like a sales terminal out here to make this easier, but it is what it is. This is the AHE. It is not the ITC after all. They're not all about that trade life. Could I do like another, let's see, what is it per load? Is it 4,300? Close enough. I did sell them enough gold that they stopped buying it at one point, actually. I sold them. I brought 14,000 ingots. They were like, sorry, we've bought all we want for right now. And I'm like, oh man, I have to take the rest back. It was funny. It's another order. So we're at 7,000-ish copper. Maybe we'll go to like 15,000. The alternative is setting up like an actual dedicated copper mine and like piping it up and sending it back. There's a possibility if I can get the PAS script to work with like a Zeppelin. We could be able to set up like mini Zeppelins to just like fly around different spots and kind of auto ferry things that way. Because that'd be kind of cool. This is like what, trip 4, so we should be at around 15,000 now. Yeah, just about. Look at that. 15 and some change. Good enough for government work. Yep, nope, I feel that weight. Oh no. No. Okay. Well, the gun didn't explode on me. I should be happy. Yeah, we're 65.5 tons. We're chonking it right now. It's been a while since I've had this much mass inside this boat. I need to remember that. Let's see what we can get going up to. Speed. We didn't punch a hole in the hull at least. So I guess the gun's sticking out kind of helps. We're doing 50 meters a second. That's not bad. If I can keep her level and trim, we can hit 51. We get at 51 meters a second. Hell yeah. I'll take that. We're maxing out the engines just about at 86% power generation. Alright, let's see how bad this is. Oh, that was so close to blowing up. Let's just, can't get the ammo out of it. It's too damaged. Let's see. That's not too bad otherwise, though. A little bit of hull deformation, but nothing too major. Okay, that could have been way worse than it was. I didn't try to squeeze those interior turrets in where I did, so that we ended up, with having a little bit of an overhang. That could have punched a hole and sunk us. We've been bringing the barge back so I could use the crane to get the boat out of the water after all. Something to spawn. Don't know what. Somehow under load, the engines are quieter, and I don't understand how. Always a possibility I might be able to use PAS to actually do like cargo planes with automatic takeoff and landing, because I know it has like an ILS system. So there's always the possibility we might be able to actually run like actual cargo ships. Kill this. Let's just go broadside so we slow down a little bit faster. We just gotta be kind of careful as we come back in. This is one of those things where it would technically be nice to have finished moving everything over to Hat Mountain, but it's not moving it yet. Don't have all the infrastructure. I just finished taking apart the drill assemblies for that large manufacturing room, so something to work on. I'm still trying to figure out, decide how I want to handle the issue of. Actually, hang on. Let's see. Can we? Can we get inside the range of Bob and have him repair this turret for me without me having to do it? Let's see. Looks like he's working on the guns. That's fair. Alright. Let's come into here and we'll just pull up alongside. Let's see, the easiest way is going to be coming caddy corner this way? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think I want to set something up so like we can just hold a back stock of ore and then I just turn off the supply sorters. And then that way, if like we have pipelines, we can also use the backlog cargo container as our method to handle like if there's any issues with turning off pipeline deliveries, so we don't end up having to just fill everything. We'll just do like event controllers and action relays for that, and it should work. Probably not motors. Alright, let's just grab everything out of this while we're here. just do some offloading. I can't believe I ran out of copper of all things. We had so much at one point. I'm like, oh, I'll never run out. Then again, how much? Side tangent again. How much gravel do we have left? Because I've made a lot of concrete. I've used a lot of concrete. We are down to around 200,000 gravel. We were at like 1.6 million at one point. Ooh. Okay. I should probably set back up a stone drill at some point. Like I'm gonna need a lot more concrete than I've currently got still. That much is certain. Because we've got like 2/3 of the main tunnel done, and the entire industrial area has to be done still, and we got copper for wires and everything else being done. Got to do the entire industrial area still. Got to do walls. Got to do ceilings. So yeah, it's gonna take a lot more. So I will probably have to set up. Actually, hang on. I could probably do that with the iron ore, because I do still want to set up an actual iron ore drill. There's a possibility it could be able to use that at the same time. I just control which one I turn on and off as a result. Production simpler. We got motors going. We're waiting on. We got electromagnets and copper wire. Electromagnets are waiting on copper wire. Our wire drawers are chomping away at things. Wait, are we actually out of titanium too? Oh no, we got 7,000 titanium. It's just being goofy. Come on, slam the buttons. Are we making advanced computers? I asked a question. We're trying to, but we're out of stuff for it. So we're just going to reorganize this a little bit and see if I can get it to do that first. I hadn't even noticed I'd run out of copper. That's wild. You know what? Actually, there may be pieces I'm looking for over at Hat Mount, because I did move a bunch of stuff over. Maybe we can do it from here. I can't get the advanced computers. Do I have advanced computers in Hat Mountain storage? The answer is going to be a maybe, I'm willing to bet. Yep. Okay. Good, so we can get this back up and running. And then I can forget everything I was doing still. Alright, we were working on the towers. But that works again. And this is being built. So that's good. Sweet. We'll let it do its thing. There's that doing its thing. We've offloaded everything from it, so we can just turn power off and not burn gas. And let's just hop into, you know what? Do I have hydrogen over here still? I don't think so. I took apart all the exterior stuff on the Connex. And I don't have hydrogen production on this box anymore as a result. But it's now easier to move. I just had to undetach it and just pick it up with the crab and go. And I'm fine with that. Also, I did learn that the tax fraud here, if I'm doing at least 30 meters a second up the entrance ramp, I can come so close. I actually brush the roof. Like, it ramps and I can brush the roof going in. So I have to remember not to hold down the accelerator when I'm doing this. Because it can definitely clear. Alright. park here, and all of the stuff I previously had set up is now off my build owner, so we got to add it back again. And we're going to take this down temporarily so I can get to the center junction point, because that would be smart. I suppose I could just drop my H2 tanks into the sorter system and then just rely on Goat to fix it for me. It's probably not a bad way of doing it. 2, 3, 4, and I do need to add another one of these here. And grab this one. And we'll just put concrete around the outside. And that'll be the armor. Concrete technically isn't great to use defensively, but I think it'll probably be good enough. And it's cheap. And we'll go from there. Yeah. Alright, and then let's get some concrete. Oh, did I use up all the girders? Is that what we're out of? We got 16,000 concrete here, but we are out of girders. Okay. I'll have to go get a whole bunch of those and bring them back. How many girders you got on me? None. Is it seriously? It's seriously none. Okay, that's fine. We'll go pick up like an entire inventory for the girders. Let the extruder work on that backlog, because we know for a fact the copper is going to be an issue. So let's grab a whole bunch of these. Because I want to do some placements. We need to get lights going here too. All right, so if the plan is something like this on the shape. You know what we're going to do? We're going to use this. Because then I don't have to sit here and place each one of these individually. It'll place the frames from inventory for me. Again, if you've not seen this before, this is the Pepco Survival Building Aid mod. And as long as you've got it in your inventory, you can do lines and or planes of the same block placed over and over. It has occasionally a bug on rotation, but it largely otherwise works. And it's just something you toggle on with the key press, and you can toggle back off afterwards. And it works pretty well. And it places that first block, so you just need the very first block in your inventory, and then it allows you to place them as long as you've got pieces. And if you try and do more than it lets you have, it won't. It's that simple. It just won't. I will pretty up that base later, but this is more or less the form factor. Let's get the blocks that are going to be under. I need to get concrete in the inventory. That's fine. Let's go ahead and place all these in. The ones that are going to be underneath the turrets. And we'll get those first, so it's less of a pain to weld them up later, and then we'll work on making sure the turret placement is the way I want it to be. It should just be the top and bottom one here. Yep, there we go. And then these we can get at from the side, so I'm not as concerned. So there's that. Let's... Do I have a turret on the hotbar? I thought I had a turret on the hotbar. Probably took it off. Yeah, I did. Turrets. Oh no, I've got the fixed one. That's what I've got on my hotbar still. So turrets. Again, can't use Gatlings, but we can do the artillery turrets. And I think I want to put these on top, so you can see here from the list of stuff on the top left. Again, that's a build info, neat little thing there. We've got some options here. So HE, I'm a fan of HE because it's got the same. It doesn't have as far a range as like the regular artillery shells, But unless you're manually firing them, you're not getting 3 kilometers even with a defensive AI block. With a defensive AI, you can get a good chunk out, right? So 2 kilometers out at 500 meters per second. So I mean that's decent. It will not ricochet. It's 5,000 pierce, so like regular damage, and then a 3-meter explosion of 12,000 damage. So that's not too bad. It is gravity effective, of course. So I mean that's pretty decent as far as that goes. And it works better than the artillery shells in my experience. The artillery shells are nice, like the regular ammo is nice, and by extension, like the depleted uranium rounds, you don't have uranium to build those with, or the chronics. If you go to one of the other planets, you can get chronics, which is a special tier 4 resource, and that works pretty well. The issue comes in, and I don't like it. Like it's a good chunk of damage, right? It's still 10,000 damage. It is faster, and it's technically classified as a propelled munition with a bigger explosion, but it's a lot of work for what we're doing here on this playthrough. So. And I have found that in this mod, or this mod pack, the issue is almost never whether or not you have the damage to take something down, and almost in... Whoop! Dampener's off. Ooh, that was almost a splat. The issue becomes a matter of, do you have the ability to take out enough key blocks in time? And the HE fixes that, because regular AP, it'll hit, it'll just keep going through block after block after block after block and penetrating. The problem is most of the ships in this scenario don't care about that. They will not give a single damn if you punch straight through them, because they don't have enough stuff set densely enough that you can just knock one out of the sky with a single well-placed shot. If you get really lucky and you hit like a fuel tank, sure. But, you know what? I don't like these corners. Let me take the corners out. Use a different shape for the corners. This is why I don't weld these up before I start putting stuff on. So anyway, things like the high explosive rounds are useful in that regard, because you get to do this nice thing of you hit one block, and what you hit takes out everything adjacent to it. Right? A 3-meter explosion means you hit an armor plate on a large grid. You're still getting to the adjacent stuff, or the stuff that was behind that, as well as the stuff adjacent to it. Ooh, that's not... I think the issue is I need uranium for the railguns, don't I? There's something I need uranium for with railguns. Is it the ammo, or is it the railgun itself? Okay, maybe I don't have... I guess I took it off my bar. So let's take a look at this. Out of these stuff, we can make advanced computers. We can do the superconductors because we have access to gold. So there is that. So we could make these, and that's a good chunk of damage. Let's check the munitions depot and see what it costs to make railgun sabos. Alright, so the standard railgun sabo, iron, copper, aluminum, and titanium. Oh, sweet. It's not got a stupid recipe that makes no sense. And there's the depleted uranium railgun sabos that take the depleted uranium, which we can't do that. But that's within the realm of reasonability. And the difference between regular ammo and the depleted uranium is only 5,000 damage, which at 70,000 block damage, the difference between 70 and 75 doesn't matter. It's the same speed, and it's the same max range and fall off. Let's do a mouse over. Anything different? Nope. Okay. That's not too bad. How much integrity does a Bob have? 115,000. So it would take. This is the single heaviest block I think that I've got is one of these build and repairs, as far as like sheer materials that go into them. It's a 35.5-ton block with 115,000 integrity. So it would take 2 railgun shots either way to drop one, but everything else it would punch through, right? Because like the synthetics factory is 22,000, it pops and continues through. The ceramics furnace is 15,000. The cement kiln is 22. The turbine's 21. The coal boiler, yeah, like I could shoot at this base from the water with a railgun and it would punch through and impact the terrain beyond no matter where I aimed. How did that deal damage? That was like a 2-foot drop. Game's trying to kill me. It knows if it does chip damage small enough that I will eventually die because I'm not paying attention. Okay, so custom. Oh, but hang on, right? We got a 2-kilometer range. What if we had like a custom railgun turret on top of the mountain? Right, like on a piston that raises it up. So it's like behind the hill and normally protected behind like a hatch cover. And then when it needs to come out for big stuff, it just comes out and raises up, deploys. Because 2 kilometers, that's halfway to the damn oil rig from here. Oh, crap. Oh no. We're gonna have another incident where I run out of hydrogen and fall. And it'll be on camera this time. No, we're just gonna run down the hill. We're gonna run. We're gonna run and run. And then I won't die on camera. I've only had what one? No, I've had two. I've had 2 deaths on camera. 2 out of 10's not bad. To be honest, I kind of expected to die more on camera and less off camera because I'm typically more distracted on camera. But you know. And yeah, if it's up top, we'd want to make it a large. What's the stat difference on these large versus small? So we're looking at 15 kilometers. We could shoot by hand anywhere we damn wanted to with a large. We could punch holes and stuff we could shoot the AHE headquarters from here if we had a clear line of sight. Yeah. Don't know what that accent was. Clear line of sight. Let's refill our hydrogen tanks. Splat, 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 splat. And then a small grid one. Why won't it let me do a size change to this? Okay. So we're looking at 5 kilometers on the smalls. Still 1,200 damage. That's not bad damage. That's not bad at all, actually. 3.6 megawatts to charge. I mean, we've got the power for it. The new script is too fast. And then component-wise, like, we're looking at advanced computers. The superconductors are the advanced computers and the superconductors are the most expensive pieces because they require gold. There we go. Got it to change sizes finally. So I mean, it's 25% the price for It's far less efficient material-wise versus damage output. But like again, 12,000 damage is a lot. We could do a rotary. Oh no, you can't see because my camera's off. But I got my face in my hands. We could do a rotary railgun. It's like the little custom turrets on the clams, where it's just a self-made rotary, except it's railgun shots instead. Oh. A railgun minigun for the extra big go-to-hell moments. Alright, what was I doing? I was getting distracted. That's what I was doing. Alright, I want... So I was going to change the texture up. Maybe I want to use this kind of concrete instead in general. Because the texture is different, right? Like you can see the texture is slightly different. And I don't know why it's different. Because it should be the same texture. But it is for some reason. If only I just taken something. So I've got superconductors. I have plenty of those because we have the stuff, the gold mine. Yeah, I like that look better. So let's strip all this back out. So I want it to be consistent on the texture, not like weird, goofy tiger stripes. We're just going to go sideways here. Oh wait, I didn't need to actually do that one. That one was correct.
Inventory full.
Making a mess, don't care. Grab the concrete while we're here. Where did those girders drop on? Here we go. Fell there. And over. I'm stuck. I'm stuck inside turret hitboxes. This is not a fun time. Put a little bit more concrete in here so I can finish that one up. Alright, where did... No. Yes? Yes. It's this one. Actually, I can get into these. That's not too bad, then. Okay. That's not too bad. I'll keep doing this. And we'll just slap these down. Because I can always do like a little bit of a different greeble at the bottom if I want to. I can flare to the base a little bit more or something. That's incorrectly placed. I think at some point in time we'll probably have a build and repair like buried in the dock just to do like light maintenance repairs and perhaps, you know, fix up stuff on like the boats and stuff. So I think that would probably be a good idea to have. But it takes so many parts to make one. And the goal is to make them so that they have like specific purposes. So like the tunnels have each segment of tunnel has its own built-in repair without having overlap. So like each one can repair the one in front of it. But I was silly and did it in the opposite direction rather than like build the first one and then have it build, you know, the next one in line. So I think we may need to change how I do that for the next sets that I put out. Just because it does take like 40 or 50 manual trips to put parts in because they need so many. And like, they can all load into the truck or the crab pretty easily because that's how I've done it so far. But like it's just, whoo boy, it's a lot of middle mouse turn left click, middle mouse turn left click. Okay, I like that. That looks way better. Again, my favorite block shape in this game. Saves it. But a railgun minigun, that could be pretty neat. We could put like one. We could stick it on top of the mountain, or we could stick it here at the entrance. My concern is, right? We know that the Crow can get through the atmosphere above these mountains to come in the backside. And so far, all of our defenses are on the front side here. And, like, we're not far enough away. Those can absolutely shoot at stuff up here. But if I put a railgun minigun up top, we'll have to put, like, some minor turrets as well. Just for, like, light defenses. Because otherwise, anything that comes over the backside would just run the risk of tearing up the minigun. The minigun, railgun. Rail minigun. Mini rail, rail mini. Words stop having meaning. Yeah, just do one block overlap. So like that's what it is in the tunnel right now. Is I've got them set to max, like max distance in the one direction, and then they're offset, so they're pushed forward, so they can't repair themselves. They won't anyway. But it does mean they get the one in front. So like if we got the front doors open, right, and like something just comes flying in and crashes through, or you know, I'm coming in with the Crow and just completely and totally botch the landing. You know, and happen to like impact one of those directly, it'll still be able to be repaired up by the next bomb in line. And that's fine, because that's the goal, right? I just don't want to have, like, here's 19 or 20 bobs, you know, doing, like, super welding stuff. Because, again, the issue is I would use AI-enabled bots to, like, just go through and do this for me, like little crew robots, if they were working right now. And they're not because of the update. So, it is what it is. It's fine. There's workarounds for it that work for some people and not for others, and they don't work for me at the moment. So that is unfortunately what it is, which is why I'm like, well, we got the welder wall, right, and then that didn't work, unfortunately, because it was that was fast. It was nice and quick at getting things welded up. Now we had the power to spend on it. It just and I don't know why. It was just deleting resources. So. Wait, did I not... How did I miss some of these for girders? Did I just miss this entire line? Is that what happened? Oh, that's weird. Okay. I may not have sufficient girders anymore because they may have been pulled for interior construction duty. Which, if so, that's fine. As y'all saw, I did update the system so it kept 2,000 girders at a time in backstock for this exact reason. You know, that's... that'd be hilarious to recreate. That would be hilarious. I typoed the word, and then I typoed it again the exact same way. You know, we could do like fancy lights and stuff too, so like when it deployed up out of the thing, like spotlights came on and like flashers and all that stuff to make a real big production out of it. That would be kind of amusing to do. Alright, we're still seeing a little bit different texturing. But it's not as bad because it doesn't have, like, the difference I think is the fact that these blocks don't have the curves, the chamfers on those. A railcat, oh man. I did want to do something like that off of, like, hanging off the bottom of a blimp, you know? Because I think that'd be hilarious. I'm running low on power. I need to recharge power soon. Thankfully, there is a refill station on board the barge, which I still need to come up with a name for. I should probably also blueprint it at some point too, so if it gets blown up, or when it gets blown up, I can rebuild it. Nah, not klaxons. We need to play something obnoxious and musical. One of those things that, like, makes the unfortunate target go, is this a place that is lived in by a psychopath? Yeah, we're gonna refill our power while we can, rather than get up there and half weld the block and then have to stop. Girders. It's fine. Another entire row of things I missed. Alright, let's go get more girders. Where's Bender when you need him? The fact that we haven't restocked all those girders yet means the extruder is cranking away. Yeah, it was cranking away on tubes. How are we doing on other parts? So we're still using these as fast as we're making them on the motor side. Let's see. Plate stamp is doing plate stamp things. It doesn't like the amount of titanium we have, which means I'm willing to bet it is stuffed up. Yeah, stuffed up. This is why you need an inventory management script, so it doesn't do that. And we're still cranking away on wire. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna just manually queue. Ask the wrong thing, not gold. We want copper wire. We're just gonna manually queue up a bunch of copper wire because it's gonna get used either way. Because copper wire is used to make the electromagnets. And then the motors use both copper wire and electromagnets to make themselves. So, like, plus the computers, right? Like, all these computers need... No, they don't. These ones need copper wire. This needs more gold wire. Ooh, actually, it might be out of plastic. Yeah, I think the issue's plastic. We're out of polymer here, we're out of plastic. I may need to bring some of that back, or we'll just no, we'll need the advanced components. There's always something going on. We have polymer over here. So let's do a thing. You know what, actually, do I have girders in here? I don't. That's fine. We'll put some girders in here. And we should have access to polymer from the gasoline refining. Yeah, I've got 124,000 polymer. So we'll grab 4,500 and we'll run it back over here. And we should probably check and see how much gold we have. Okay, I like those thoughts. We got 4,000 gold still. Alright, so it's literally just the copper that's the issue now. That's the bottleneck. Let's grab some more girders while we're over here. And we'll just load those into the regular stuff so that more of that interior tunnel can get welded up. And the only reason I budged on that too is I got so tired of like having to load up the crab and then weld out like a dozen blocks and then load the crab back up and then weld a dozen blocks. And because even with this cargo capacity, it took so long to do. And the original plan, of course, as always, had been to, like concrete, had been to use repair bots. And just because the update just can't do that. Because then they would just run about and do their thing and, be constant, and they'd be happy and just like, hey, look, we're little robots. We're going to make cheery beep beep noises as we sit here and weld on things. We don't get to do that. It'd be nice if you could set like the build and repair noise instead of it being like the welder noise. Just have it be like, hey, I'm just the random robot, cheery beep boops. I am flying around fast enough, I'm going to hit something and kill myself. Like, I'm going to hit it and it's going to be like, hey, you did so much damage because you hit us at 45 meters a second. How does feeling like a bug on the freeway feel? And then my character's going to be like, but my buffs. It's going to be sad times. Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like, build and repair, unless you're doing a mass number of them, they're intentionally slower than a player would be. They are technically only as fast as like the starter tier 0 welder tools. And because of changes with survival, that's even slower now because Bobs can't get survival buffs. Right? Like you can't feed them food to buff them. So they're fairly balanced as far as that goes. In the current maintain branch, like the default recipe for them is punishing enough, and they've got enough mass to them that like you can't just throw a whole bunch onto non-static grids. So I mean, it's fairly well balanced. It's not like they used to be, but there is always the concern, right, that if you start throwing enough of them into a thing and you start building 15, 20, 30 of them, you start getting into issues. Well, they will. Because some of the more recent pathfinding changes to them, they will still work. You have to be careful about how you build the grid out, though. And you have to make sure that you're not like subgridding pieces together, because they won't map subgrids. But if you station them further apart, like there is a max range, right? So they'll only go so far. But if I had like a bot here and like a little gate tower, he would cover this entire wharf area and then like part of the ramp. I could have one up there in a little like security booth, and he would cover all that portion of the tunnel and all that stuff. So like you can do it. You just have to keep in mind that like the mapping is a cube, and so if you're building in weird dimensions, you're going to have inefficiency losses that way for like how long it takes to build the map, and it can take a good while to build it. And if you're constantly making changes to the layouts and stuff like that, then it's got to go through it. Like it's a thing. If you work within it, the system works. Get out of the computers. It's fine. But they're never going to be like as good as like hell, even like a self-designed automated welding like piston. But they're neat because they're fully passive, right? Like you provide them power, you provide them parts, they will get it done eventually. And like you can kind of set some of that stuff up too with like because they have a cost associated to them. And Yeah, yeah, that would be kind of neat too. Like this, the longer it's active and doing stuff, you know, it has like a like it takes a little bit of time to get up to speed, so to speak. But once it's warmed up and running, kind of like a 3D printer, you know, it'll just chug away faster and faster until it hits like its full stride. All right, let's do some configurations here before. You know, we're not doing it through this menu. So I'm just not doing that. What is all in my inventory? Did I accidentally double up? I did double up. Ah, crap. My parts list. Okay, so we need detector components and armored plates. Put the rest of the stuff back away. Artillery turrets. Let's do some things here before we get going too big. We're going to take the AI aiming radius and max it out. Turn off idle movement. We don't want the artillery turrets shooting at small ships. That's a bad idea. Large ships and stations are fine, not neutrals, only enemies. We will leave default options so it aims for center of mass, and push-pull works. So that works. We do need to get munitions building though so that we can get ammo going. I think that might be the thing that I bring over next is munitions manufacturing, because since the claws are printed off, I don't really need the munitions factory over here anymore. We definitely need lights, or I'm gonna like smack into these at speed at night. We'll probably give them all a fancy repaint while we're at it. There we go. Another thing with like Bob is that you tend to get into like a habit where you know it'll take care of it, and so you can just plant stuff and just, you know, put stuff down, and it'll get around to it eventually, and you kind of lose track of the scale you start building at. Or maybe it's just me. But I tend to lose track of the scale that I'm building at, then I turn around and made like an unintentional gigantic monstrosity as opposed to an intentional one. And I was like, oh, that kind of feels bad now because this is so much more massive than I had intended it to be. Let's see, this is autocannon. Yeah. Assault cannons. So we're going to grab all 4 of these. We'll put a 1 here for now. I'm going to probably rename these based on tower name. But we'll start with this. No idle movement. Small and large both. Not characters, yes stations. No neutrals, yes enemies. Default, center of mass. Auto push-pull. That'll work. I'm not particularly interested in trying to salvage anything off of whatever might show up here to attack us. Maybe that'll change. But we're out of grids at this location, and armor plates and something else. Detector components. Yeah. Okay, so that's some stuff we'll need to get back from the other temporary base. And as things get moved over, right, it won't be that big a deal. And eventually we could take, like, the barge down to AHEHQ and hook it into one of those actual conveyors they've got and just buy a bunch of stuff. Usually build a cockpit to move the Bob area around. Oh, I like that. Okay. I like that idea. So that's kind of similar to the whole, like, have a little repair boat thing I was talking about out there for the clams and the oil drill, oil rig. You just have like a little thing that lets you move it around. That's a neat way to do that. I think my biggest complaint is that there's no way to improve vanilla welder size, right? So like if you're doing it, you're having to use a mod, but like most mods, they either go massively huge for no reason, or like the tiered welders with Industrial Overhaul, they're not really like, they get faster, kind of like the hand welders. They don't get bigger really. And like Ares at War does add a laser welder, which is like the highest tier one, which does have massively increased area of effect that it welds in. But the issue is that it requires crystals, which we'd have to go to crate to get, which means we need a frame shift drive, and then we're doing, you know, off Agaris operations. And the whole point of this particular run is not to do that, right? So there we go. We've almost got enough armor plate to get this one moving all the way up. Let's see if I can not hit things. Look at that, did smack. And I had to go through and set the bobs up with the welder ignore color. That is the color of, where is it? There it is. That is the color of the blocks used for the LCD screens here that are like making up these panels, so that he didn't try and weld them and turn them into screens instead of neat little grates, because they're supposed to be like those little like metal straps, right? So I did set that up. But like, I'm one person. I don't feel bad about, you know, having something else do some welding for me on some of these builds. Not in this scenario, the way it's set up, at least, right? But there's always stuff where that would be the case, like the scrapyard run. I never added build and repair to that because it would have part of the restrictions and the tedium were part of it for that. You know, just because you had the parts didn't mean it was necessarily easy to do. And so some of that was still like a little bit of abstraction that way. And also it would have made taking apart Rex way too easy. Alright, waiting on armored plates. Armored plates and advanced computers. I need to give these things a fancy color scheme as well. So the current plan is 3 of these towers. Depending on how things go, if 3 is insufficient or looks a little bit too tight, and there might be issues with like larger waves of guys, you know, we can add some more. The rotary railgun idea is definitely something I want to look into. You know what? Actually, while I'm waiting for this stuff to print out, let's add that to the list. Where is my LCD screen? Optional tasks. Rotary volcano railgun. That way I know where it's supposed to go. We did deploy the clams. So we'll just mark that off. We are printing the new crab, and we are building the wharf defense towers. Advanced computers. I think the issue is gold wire at this point. What is eating up the silicon wafers? Nothing? Anything? Oh, because they're being used for these. It's gold wire. Okay. Oh, it's because I stuffed these full of copper. Duh. So let's just do that. We'll do like 300. I guess it's most of the way there. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. Oh, I feel slightly less bad now. No hydrogen here. Alright, so the refinery we pretty much don't need. The only time we would need that would be like if we happen to need gold right now. So out of the parts of this that we no longer need, the concrete refinery, I can, let's go, can we go up here instead? Yeah, here we go, let's just look down on things. The concrete mixer, I can relocate that. The plate stamp, I can probably work on relocating. The refinery, definitely. Munitions factory needs to be relocated just for refill, because again, there's no turrets or weapons over here, so like there's no point to having it here, whereas over there it at least can feed those turrets once those get up online. This stuff needs to stay for production for right now until I can do everything else, and of course power production we still need. So about a third of this I can take down right now, because if I move the concrete mixer, the concrete storage, and the refinery, that's like a third of what's here without impacting anything else. And once that crab prints, I can take down that entire goofy long arm. If the refinery stuff is moved, I no longer need this either. So I think I could probably shrink this base footprint by about half now with what's already been migrated over. And then the concrete and the refining stuff I can just set back up. The goal is to have crushers and do all the fancy stuff there. So like rock crusher, which crushes stone and ores, which gives us a 50% increased return modifier, and then that can be fed through a purifier for another 50%. So basically doubles our output, and then we feed that into the refineries and the smelters, and that gives us the boosted output we need that way. And that'll be kind of nice. 8 more. Come on, just let me do it. I just want to finish up that tower. Where are we sitting? So close. And that'll be a nice way to do it. So maybe it's probably not going to be tonight, because we're getting close to the end of where my back's going to let me do this still tonight. But maybe next time, maybe next stream, it'll be the setup and moving day. We'll see. A klaxon with the Michael Myers. Yeah. Well, so I want to get the design finalized on this one, and then we've got like one that we can use as a frame for, and then we can just, again, I think what I'm going to do is, because where's about the midpoint? The midpoint is here-ish, right about where this tower is. I'll just bury one beneath the asphalt, because there is a hookup here for the conveyor network, so we could like bury it down here, fed off this, and then just have it cover the wharf area itself, and like just far enough back to catch the secondary static line that goes up, so that if, like, let's say like a gunship comes and just plows straight into the ground here, and blows up with a hydrogen tank, and it takes out this whole connection piece here, we don't have like pieces flopping about it and clanging through existence and blowing other stuff up in the process. And then I can just, lay down the blanks, and eventually, the build and repair will get the towers back up. And that's probably going to be the way to go about it, because then I'm freed up to actually like place things up inside Hat Mountain and lay out crushers and all that stuff. And then it's already in place for like if something attacks us. Because I mean, if something attacks us and starts throwing fire our way, a single build and repair can't out repair the damage, right? Like even if it's just like a Gatling gun, it can't make something invincible. But it can be used for repairing stuff after the fact and patching things back up. And if I don't have like a repair projector you know, eating up resources, it won't really matter then either, because I've still got to come back and still have to manually place the blocks anyway, right? So like it's still just a save on resource for time. I don't know if I like the top. What if we change the way the top is? Reads. Oh, wait, there's reinforced concrete? Oh, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let's land so I don't die from running out of hydrogen again. Let's take a look at the stats on this. So regular concrete is 20 concrete and 5 girders. And it's 3,000 integrity, which is more than a light armor block, less than a heavy. It doesn't have any inherent weaknesses for like damage types, so that's not too bad. And then the reinforced is 15 girders, 135 concrete, and was that, I can't tell because my damn gloves in the way, 50 metal grids. So this is like heavy armor in concrete form. 21,000 integrity. Man, okay, maybe I need to replace some of this flooring and stuff with the heavy stuff. That's when we have industry up and running, because like we would need, I don't have the thing for that. Let's go back over here to the big map. You know, I don't hate that idea. Alright, so there's cobalt over here by the AHEHQ, so we can set up a mining operation and pipe it back. Because we would absolutely need more cobalt than we have now for that many, you know, metal grids. And we would definitely have to have more concrete. But that's doable. We could also do like a deep sea trench cobalt thing, and that would be kind of fun, kind of neat. And we just pipeline it back down the river, back this way. We'll add this to the longer term to-do list. We'll start swapping infraflooring with reinforced concrete. And once the build and repair, you know what? Hang on, let's start on this now. Let's get a build and repair. Add this to build planner. We're just going to do a shift middle mouse to get it put into production, and then that way I know that like all the goofy parts, like the superconductors and all that, aren't being made. Because then I can just use the grind color, right? The obnoxious bright pink. I can just paint stuff and it'll tear it apart, and then I can just lay down the reinforced stuff, and that'll make it nice and easy. Anyway, yeah, reinforced, man. Okay, so that's a thing to do, and that'll probably be necessary unless somehow these towers just never get damaged, and I don't see that happening. Yeah, I think the issue is I don't like the shape of the top here, so let's play with the shaping some. If for some reason these just never take damage or never take meaningful damage, and we just don't ever lose blocks, then obviously like doing the upgrade's not going to be necessary. But I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to lose a tower or two. Oh no. If we call the Bob that's over here O'Brien, it's just going to eat rockets every time it turns around. His life is just going to be one of pain. Oh, it's just going to get shot by drones and have problems. Or like the rocket will hit just ahead of the conveyor line to where it gets parts from, so it never has what it needs. It's going to have a life of a tormented existence. Okay, I kind of like that better. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so that's a better design, and then we'll just change up the bottom some. Yeah, I think I want to flare the bottom out, because I think the concern that I've got is that if we have like a lip, you know, here, yes, I can still walk around. I could put, you know, like railings up to walk around it, but my concern is like if something comes in and, you know, it eats an assault shell and it loses its front thrusters and it crashes in face first and then slides down, it's gonna sit here. I guess that gun can see it, but like if it's got weapons and stuff, it could be shooting at things below the line of fire. And like theoretically, the tower over here, right, could then take shots on it, because they can cover each other. But like if there's enough stuff, as I have concerns about stuff not, because if turrets go underwater, they shut off. So like, if an attacker comes in and then falls below the water line, I don't have to worry about that then, because they're effectively removed. No, I was very careful about making sure that I didn't come in fast. I was very careful on that one. And then I can do like the angled spotlights and stuff like that to shine down these anyway. Provide some illumination too. How do I want to go about this one for the rest of the flare out? I kind of want to slope it in, but then we're looking at something like... I guess we could do something like that, and then I can... Yeah, that works. Okay. Let's get some parts, assuming that all the girders haven't been used up. All the girders have been used up. Do we have any in the truck still? Probably not. Oh, we do. Haha! Alright, so, we're going to change up colors so I can actually see what's going on here against the backdrop of the gray on the gray on the gray. And then we'll just recolor it after the fact. Because then this blends in, and we can do... Oh, out of fuel. Doop. The script will take care of refilling these. Yeah, there we go. It only does it once per cycle. And then we need to do... That's not the right shape. That could... Yeah, you know what? That's good enough. Because then we're still just not just like a big slope straight into the water, but we still have a little bit of a lip. Then maybe I'll put like a half block on these sides to carry it out the rest of the way. Because if we're doing this then and then we'll probably go through and do like a little paint thing as well, so it's not the exact same gray as everything else is. That seems like a good... Nope. Too far. Seems like a good way to do it. Or maybe do like some accent highlights, or maybe like some plates for accent lighting, or accent highlighting. That's not terrible. Then we could do like a half block with this. Yeah, that works. Okay, I like that. So we have a little bit of a ring at the bottom, but not a whole lot of a ring. So if I need to like stand and walk around, I can. And I can just carry that down when I build the rest of that out. The question actually, hang on, let's do a quick test. Let's weld this up so it floats. And it's red, so it should be visible. Where does that end up floating to with the current? Does the current for this little area push things towards my shore or towards the opposite shore? Because if it pushes it my way, we will have to have the bob for here set up to properly grind things. And then I'll just have to keep in mind I need to be careful when I put stuff down, you know, for that function. If it pulls away from me, then I don't have to care, because eventually it'll end up on the other side of the lake, and then it's not my problem. Need more girders. Aha, girders here though. Turn my headlight off because I don't need it. The sun is starting to rise again. It is the next day for when stream starts. I think the rotary rail cannon is going to be called the Doom Cannon. That seems appropriate. It does. It's growing on me the more I do of it. And you know, it needs some sort of accent color regardless, so it's not just the same boring, giant monolithic gray. Maybe the bottom will be kept red, because then it's kind of like a buoy too, right? Like a signal buoy. And then we'll just use something different, like maybe like a closer to the asphalt black, maybe for the actual other parts. Or like something garish and obnoxious, like orange or teal. Again, that whole what kind of psychopaths are we dealing with kind of, you know, deterrence. But I do like this red. Oh, fell in the water. I didn't expect to like this. This was just done just so I had some clear contrast and could see what I had placed and hadn't, but that does work in the concrete. We don't have, there's an orange, I had a bright orange somewhere. Over here on the conics. Let's steal the orange here. Just over it what I already had. Whatever. Works just in a different order now. Oh, that is obnoxious, and I like that. I like that. I need to get my paint gun so I can get the other parts here. But I do like that. Well, we have the footprint, the blueprint to use for the other towers. And that works. That works. I like that. I need to get my paint gun so I can fix that, and then I need to build out the underpinnings so it's actually anchored and like reinforced. But that'll work. And then again, build and repair somewhere here-ish, and then I can start replicating that tower over here and letting it build out. Migrate the construction stuff. Yeah, it does. By the way, the corrosion-resistant paint used in big tankers is some horrifyingly nasty stuff, by the way. Like, if you've never looked into what goes into that stuff, oh man, that's some terrifying stuff. Like, it's not fancy paint, it's like evil hell paint, man. But it does its job. It absolutely does its job, but like, oh. It's like back when like house paint used to be made with lead. It's like there's some nasty like petroleum byproducts that get used in it to help give it corrosion resistance, all sorts of other stuff. Alright, so there's that. I think, like I mentioned, my back is giving me a rough time this week, and, you know, made it further tonight on stream than I thought I would. So I think we're going to call it... Actually, can we paint these something different? Is there a more metallic orange we could use for this? Oh, yeah, we can retro future. Oh, the turrets. Now the turrets literally glow. Oh, yeah. So we're going to end up wrapping in here for tonight. I'll do some of that minor stuff off screen, and then I think we'll start prepping for like actual like big movement stuff for next stream. Unless, like, again, if I get busy enough I don't get around to it, we'll just go from there. But from where we are, we can mark off this. We did get the clamps deployed. I'm going to call it halfway on printing the new crab and the wharf defense towers. Let's see. Call this the Doom Cannon. We still need to have floating crab balloons in mini crab turret defenses, and I do need to. You know what? For the finish, we'll put an asterisk here, and down here under goals, we'll have like a new section, and that'll be airboat with bar. And that'll be how, and then we can just load it up with parts. It'll be like a repair barge, right? We'll have a little crane on it, and it'll have a build and repair on it and some cargo capacity, and we'll have to move it around with like the duck boat or something, or maybe it'll have like just enough thrust it can get around, and yeah, that we can do like refill and resupply stuff. How is the crab coming along? Actually, let's wrap up looking at this crab. It's a good chunk of the way there. Like, the front half is done, and most of the internals are present. So that's not bad. I'm going to turn off the dampeners, because I think part of the issue is that these things are just trying to run. Yeah, they were absolutely trying to keep it in place because of the hinge. So there's that. And you know, hope to see you all back next time. If you are watching live, greatly appreciate you. If you're watching this after the fact, especially appreciate you because you didn't get to participate in the chat stuff. And hope to see you back. We should be back next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's just pull this back some. Unless my schedule just doesn't allow it. As always, stay safe, stay goose.